The Galactic Concord's High Council chamber buzzed with low murmurs, each delegate's elongated fingers tapping impatiently against polished consoles. Far beyond the vast windows of the orbiting citadel, stars glittered like indifferent witnesses to the trial unfolding within. Humanity was on trial, and the sentence was all but sealed. Admiral Leona Vasquez stood on the bridge of the UHS Leviathan, Earth's last dreadnought-class warship, watching the stars through reinforced viewports. Her dark eyes reflected the cold expanse outside, but her jaw was set with an unyielding resolve. Centuries of human ambition, pride, and defiance had culminated in this moment. The final hour before exile on Earth, every fleet of Sentinel-class warships was being systematically dismantled. The Orion Accords, forged by the alien powers that dominated the galaxy, declared humanity too dangerous, too volatile. The Concorde saw Earth's refusal to surrender its autonomous war fleet as an act of insubordination that could no longer be tolerated. To ensure peace, humanity would be banished beyond known space, beyond all star charts. Leona's COMM terminal crackled with messages orders to stand down, to surrender. But no, the Leviathan was more than a warship. It was a symbol, a last spark of a fire the Concorde thought extinguished. Her fingers hovered over the console. The voices in her head were clear. Obey or defy. She pressed the command. Engage stealth protocol, she ordered quietly. Below deck, engineers scrambled as layers of cloaking fields shimmered into existence. The great warship, equipped with the latest in quantum phase shift tech, began its slow, silent drift into the uncharted void beyond the Concorde's borders. The galaxy's most feared weapon was disappearing, not destroyed, not surrendered, but vanishing. Admiral Vasquez activated the internal holodisplay, a flickering image of Earth slowly fading behind them. The evacuation teams on the surface were surrendering. She was alone, now alone, with her crew and the ghost of humanity's hope. Suddenly, the bridge erupted in a flurry of alarms. Commander, sensors detect Concorde patrols approaching fast. The voice was tense, urgent. The warship had become a ghost ship, and ghosts rarely went unchallenged. Vasquez's lips curled into a thin smile. Prepare for evasive maneuvers. We will not be caught. The Concorde warships closed in, their sleek forms cutting through the void like hunting blades. The Leviathan's massive reactors hummed to life thrusters flaring as the ship slipped into a quantum jump just before the first salvo arrived. The resulting explosion lit the dark space where the Leviathan had been seconds before, but there was no wreckage. The dreadnought had vanished. On Earth's command center, the news was grim. Admiral Vasquez has defied the High Council. The Leviathan is gone, presumed destroyed or fled. High Councillors exchanged wary glances. Exile would not just silence humanity, it would erase it. 2 years later, no sign of the Leviathan had emerged from the void. Humanity had disappeared from galactic memory, a faint echo of a warning. But on the bridge of the dreadnought, Vasquez stared into the darkness, not with fear, but with burning purpose. We will return, she vowed softly. Back in the Galactic Concorde's capital, a holographic report played in the corridors. Humanity was a threat. Their refusal to disarm was reckless. But now, with their war fleet dismantled and their worlds cut off, they are a problem of the past. A young counselor named Tyrell watched uneasy. Are we certain the Leviathan is truly gone? What if the humans are not as broken as we believe? The elder counselor beside him laughed hollowly. Ghost stories from a forgotten war. We have more pressing concerns, threats, trade disputes, unrest among the core worlds. But Tyrell's gaze lingered on the fading image of the Leviathan's crested jagged wing sigil burned into the hull. Perhaps the past has a way of returning. Meanwhile, in the uncharted void, the Leviathan drifted toward a dead star system known only to Vasquez. Her crew moved through shadowed corridors, engineers maintaining engines, medics treating, the weary soldiers sharpening blades with the discipline of ancestors who had faced extinction before. Vasquez convened her senior officers in the war room. "Exile is our crucible," she said. "The Concord believes they have broken us. They think we will scatter and fade, but we are not ashes, we are fire." Her words sparked a murmur of agreement. These were not ordinary humans. They were survivors transformed by the harshness of exile, hardened by betrayal. "Our mission is clear," Vasquez continued, eyes blazing. "We will learn, we will grow, and one day we will return, not begging for mercy, but demanding respect." The war room fell silent as the Leviathan's engines ignited again. The ship surged forward, beyond the edge of known space, into darkness where humanity would be forged anew. Back on the Concord, the galaxy continued unaware, complacent, fragile, and unprepared for the fire that would one day return. 2 centuries had passed since the UHS Leviathan slipped through the Concord's grasp, vanishing into the uncharted void. Humanity was presumed extinct, a footnote in galactic history whispered only in the darkest taverns and dusty holobooks. The Galactic Concord celebrated the success of their exile, confident that peace had been secured. But peace was a fragile illusion. At the edge of known space, near the shattered remnants of the Archean system, a dim beacon blinked faintly in the void. It pulsed with a code long considered lost, a human distress signal. Concord intelligence scrambled to investigate. A small fleet of scout frigates, sleek and armed but lacking the dreadnought firepower of old, was dispatched. The ships approached the coordinates with cautious optimism, expecting a wrecked station or a survivor colony. Instead, they found silence in something else, a shadow, long and vast, drifting just outside sensor range, the shape of a warship, unlike anything in the Concord fleet. Massive and imposing, its hull bearing the jagged wing emblem of Humanitian. Emblem thought dead with Earth's fleet. "Impossible," Captain Myra Gerald muttered, fingers frozen over the console. "The Leviathan? It can't be." Back on the Concord capital, counselors argued heatedly. "This is a ghost story," insisted Elder Zan, his tentacles twitching in frustration. "Humanity is gone, their fleets shattered, their worlds quarantined. But the signal is real," Counselor Tyrell countered, voice steady. "If the Leviathan returned, what else might have survived out there? We cannot afford to ignore it." Despite the warnings, the Concord's attention was divided. Pirate raids increased on the fringe worlds, political factions plotted coups within core systems, and unrest simmered among the subjugated races. The memory of humanity had grown dim, replaced by complacency and arrogance. Yet the Leviathan's silent presence near Archeon disrupted more than just Concord politics. Across the sector, ships reported sudden blackouts in their AI systems. Navigation arrays failed inexplicably. Communications dropped out mid. Panic rippled through the fleet as old technology once feared human war tech reawakened. On board the Leviathan, Admiral Vasquez stood on the bridge, her visage unchanged by time thanks to a rare neural stasis technology. Her eyes, sharp and unyielding, scanned the array of sensors. The ship was a fortress of secrets, a hybrid of human engineering and alien tech, scavenged and reverse-engineered during Exile. Status report, she commanded. Sensors detect Concord fleets massing. Within 10 light minutes, replied Lieutenant Harrow, voice tense. They're sending a diplomatic envoy. Communications array is locked down, but they're requesting a parley. Vasquez's lips curled in a grim smile. Let them come. This conversation will not be one of surrender. In the war room, a hollow projection of the Concord envoy flickered to life diplomats in their formal regalia. Nervous but resolute. Admiral Vasquez, the lead envoy, began, voice calm but firm. The Galactic Concord extends an offer. Return to the fold. Disarm your weapons, dismantle your fleet, and humanity's exile will be lifted. Vasquez's eyes burned brighter. The Concord demands submission. We offer instead a reckoning. She cut the transmission abruptly. The Leviathan powered down all non-essential systems, cloaking its movements in electromagnetic silence. The dreadnought was no longer hiding, it was hunting. In the shadows of the void, the Leviathan deployed stealth. Drones, tiny, sleek machines armed with advanced jamming tech and quantum disruptors. These spectral hunters infiltrated Concord networks, disabling satellites and crippling starbases with surgical precision at the same time. Scouts returned with reports of strange new human colonies, not on Earth, but scattered across rogue planets, asteroid belts, and derelict stations. These were the children of exile, humans transformed by centuries of hardship and innovation, enhanced with alien technologies and adaptive biologics. They were no longer the same species that the Concord had cast out. Meanwhile, in the halls of the Concord capital, Counselor Tyrell received encrypted intelligence. Reports that one of the human scouts captured aboard a drifting wreck had gone mad, speaking in riddles about a society rebuilt from fire and shadow. The children are not just survivors, the report concluded. They are hunters. Tension escalated. The Concord scrambled its fleets to respond, but their strategies faltered against the ghostly incursions. More systems lost contact. More worlds teetered on the brink of chaos. On the Leviathan, Vasquez addressed her crew, her voice steady yet fierce. They called us extinct, but exile forged us anew. We have adapted, evolved beyond their expectations. The galaxy's peace was built on our silence, but the silence ends now. The warship accelerated toward the core worlds, its shadow lengthening across the stars. In the silence of space, a new war was awakening, and humanity, once forgotten and forsaken, was about to remind the galaxy that its flames still burned brighter, fiercer, and unyielding. The void was cold, unyielding, and merciless. Yet aboard the UHS Leviathan, it was alive with whispered purpose. Captain Myra Jarrell's Concord scout frigate drifted through the debris field near Archeon's outer rim, sensors straining to detect the elusive warship everyone feared but none had yet seen. The Leviathan was no longer just a rumor or a ghost story, it was a shadow stalking the galaxy's edge, leaving crippled communications, dead outposts, and terrified systems in its wake. Captain Sensor Anomaly at 3 o'clock, called Lieutenant Chen, her fingers dancing across the console. Energy readings spike momentarily, then vanish. Gerald's jaw clenched. Could be cloaking tech. Hold course and increase sensor sweep. The crew worked feverishly, but the Leviathan was always one step ahead. Suddenly, their communications flickered static, filled the COM channels. Then silence. Communications offline, Chen reported, eyes wide. Visual scan, Jarrell ordered. Nothing. No hull signatures. No exhaust. No heat. Then, from the darkness, a single transmission burst through their systems. A voice, distorted yet chillingly familiar, echoed in every channel. We return. Exile is ended. Jarrell felt a chill run down her spine. The Leviathan was speaking directly to them. On board the Leviathan, Admiral Leona Vasquez watched the scout's transmission with calm intensity. Our presence alone disrupts their networks. She said quietly, "They fear what they cannot touch." Her second-in-command, Commander Rin, nodded. "They cannot predict our moves. Their outdated AI cannot adapt quickly enough." Vasquez's eyes darkened. "Let them see our shadow. Let them question their safety." In the council chambers of the Concord capital, chaos reigned. Councillors bickered and blamed one another for the failures. "The humans returned from nothing," spat Elder Zan. "How did we not see this coming?" "We underestimated their resilience," Councillor Tyrell admitted. "Their technology has evolved. Their strategies defy our simulations." The Concord scrambled to send a fleet led by the veteran Admiral Kessler, known for ruthless efficiency. The plan was to trap the Leviathan in the Omega Nebula, a dense cloud of ionized gas, forcing it into a deadly confrontation. The Leviathan glided into the nebula's swirling mists, its hull shimmering faintly as it adjusted shields against ion interference. Sensors scanned carefully, detecting the incoming Concord fleet. Vasquez addressed her bridge crew. "They come to cage us." Lieutenant Haro responded, "Our quantum breach lancers are ready. One shot disables entire cruisers." Vasquez smiled a cold, determined curve. "Then let's remind them why humanity was feared." The battle erupted in sudden bursts of light and fury. Concord vessels opened fire, plasma bolts tearing through the fog. The Leviathan responded with surgical precision, launching stealth drones that infiltrated enemy systems, turning their own weapons against them in moments. The Concord flagship was crippled, its command AI overridden and broadcasted in chaos. Fleets scrambled to regroup, but the Leviathan was everywhere and nowhere at once, phasing through attacks, disabling engines, and slipping behind enemy lines. Meanwhile, on a captured human scout ship recovered by Concord forces, an interrogation was underway. The prisoner, a young woman named Arya, sat silently, eyes glowing faintly with an eerie blue hue. Councillor Tyrell observed from behind the glass, voice barely above a whisper, "What happened to you? What changed out there?" Arya's lips curled into a faint smile. "We didn't just survive exile. We became something more. You shattered our worlds, but we rebuilt ourselves from the ashes." Her voice echoed with an otherworldly resonance, hinting at the fusion of human will and alien tech that defined the children of exile. Tyrell shuddered. "They are not the humans we remember." Back in the Omega Nebula, the Leviathan's engines flared as it launched a devastating salvo, the quantum breach lances slicing through enemy cruisers like glass. The nebula's stormy energy cascaded in brilliant explosions. Illuminating the battlefield, Admiral Kessler's voice crackled over, "Comes, tense and furious. Fall back, fall back. The Leviathan cannot be stopped by conventional means." But it was not just the weapons. The dreadnought seemed to control the battlefield itself, disrupting AI systems, scrambling sensors, and sowing discord among enemy crews. Vasquez leaned forward. "We are no longer the hunted, we are the hunters." As the last of the Concord's ships fled in disarray, A lone transmission cut through the void Leviathan's emblem, shining like a beacon in the dark. The shadow of humanity falls once more. This is only the beginning. Back on the Concord, Capital, Councillor Tyrell faced the council. His voice rang with warning. We cannot treat humanity as extinct. They have become a new force shaped by exile, unbound by our rules. We must prepare for war unlike any we've seen. Elder Zan growled, then we will burn their legacy from the stars. But Tyrell's gaze was steely. If we do, we risk igniting a fire that cannot be controlled. In the cold silence of space, the Leviathan drifted Anan, ancient shadow reborn, a reminder that humanity's exile was not an end, but a prologue, and the galaxy had yet to see the fire that lay beneath. The night skies over New Valis colony shattered with a violent eruption of light and sound. Once a peaceful outpost on the fringe of Concord space, it was now the crucible where humanity's return announced itself in fire and fury. Admiral Vasquez stood on the command deck of the UHS Leviathan, watching the distant chaos through reinforced view. New Valis was notorious a hub for corrupt trade, exploitation of lesser species, and a staging ground for illicit weapons shipments. The Concord had turned a blind eye for decades. Today, that tolerance ended. Open comes, Vasquez ordered. A crackling transmission filled the bridge. The colony's governor, a smug and arrogant figure, pleaded desperately, Admiral Vasquez, this is a misunderstanding. We are loyal to the Concord. Please, do not Vasquez, cut the transmission. Your loyalty is measured in suffering, Governor. Your empire built on fear and slavery ends tonight. Without further warning, the Leviathan unleashed its arsenal. Quantum breach lances lanced through the colony's defenses, shattering orbital batteries and disabling shield grids. Swarms of drones swept in to neutralize communications and scramble internal systems. The once bustling colony descended into chaos as fires erupted across sprawling industrial sectors. In the aftermath, Concord military officers on a distant command station watched the destruction in stunned silence. We've lost contact with New Valis, muttered Commander Vesh. It's obliterated. Councillor Tyrell grimaced. This was a statement. Not just a strike, but a message. The Leviathan's attack wasn't tactical, it was symbolic. A reckoning. Back on the dreadnought, Vasquez gathered her officers in the war room. The mood was grim but resolute. New Valis was just the beginning, she declared. The galaxy must know we are no longer exiles or ghosts. We will dismantle the corrupt foundations the Concord built on our backs. But Admiral, cautioned Commander Rin, attacking civilian worlds risks alienating potential allies. Some Concord races may see us only as conquerors. Vasquez's gaze hardened. Fear breeds strength. We do not seek conquest for conquest's sake, we seek justice. And justice is often forged in fire. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, news of the attack rippled like wildfire in the core worlds. Politicians whispered of impending war. Mercenary bands and pirate clans swore allegiance to the Leviathan's cause, sensing a shift in power, subjugated. Species debated rebellion, but the Concord's leadership was fracturing. High councillors blamed one another for the failures, their unity crumbling under pressure. On board the Leviathan, new recruits trained under the watchful eyes of battle-hardened veterans. The children of exile humans, transformed by harsh exile, equipped with bio-augmentations and alien weaponry, were the backbone of this new humanity. Among them was Arya, The scout, whose blue-tinged eyes and calm demeanor hid a fierce determination. During a training exercise, she sparred with a younger recruit. "You fight well," the recruit admitted, panting. Arya smiled faintly. "We fight to survive, and one day to reclaim what was taken." Aboard a Concord Fleet flagship, Admiral Kessler prepared for retaliation. "We cannot let them continue," she said. "The Leviathan must be destroyed before it inspires more uprisings." Her fleet assembled, bristling with advanced weaponry and reinforced AI protocols. This time, they would strike hard and fast, but Vasquez anticipated the move. "The Concord thinks they can crush us with brute force," she told her crew. "Let them try. Our exile made us masters of survival and stealth. We will meet their fury with cunning and fire." The Leviathan slipped once more into the shadows of space, a blazing comet unseen until it was too late. On the Concord Command Station, Tyrell received encrypted intelligence reports of covert alliances forming between rebellious factions and the Children of Exile. "We are losing control," he confessed to a trusted aide. "The galaxy's balance is shifting beneath our feet." Back on New Valis, survivors whispered in fear and awe. Humanity's return was no mere rebellion, it was a reckoning. A promise that exile had only sharpened their resolve. And as the Leviathan sailed silently through the void, its fires burned bright, lighting the way for a new war that would reshape the stars. The Concord's core worlds trembled beneath a fragile peace. But that peace was unraveling, thread by thread. Like a worn tapestry pulled too hard in the capital city of Andaris, the bustling heart of Concord power, news of New Valis's destruction spread like wildfire. Markets fell silent. Citizens whispered nervously in shadowed alleys. The Leviathan's attack had shattered more than buildings, its shattered confidence. Councillor Tyrell stood before the High Council chambers, his voice steady but urgent. Humanity's return is not a simple insurrection. It is a revolution fueled by centuries of exile and adaptation. We must act decisively or watch our entire order collapse. Elder Zan sneered. Decisive action means crushing them with overwhelming force. No mercy, no negotiation. Tyrell shook his head. They have allies now. Races we once oppressed, who have grown weary of our rule. This war will be unlike any we have faced. Far from the core worlds, on the Leviathan, Admiral Vasquez gathered her commanders in the dim glow of the war room. The ship's corridors hummed with activity as new ship stealth frigates, assault carriers, and reconnaissance drones joined the fleet. "Each strike we make will inspire more to rise," Vasquez declared. "But the Concord will not sit idle. Expect retaliation." Commander Rin nodded. "Our intelligence confirms growing unrest in the Outer Rim. Several systems have already declared open rebellion. Inspired by our actions." Vasquez's gaze hardened. "Then we must prepare to lead them. The Children of Exile are not just soldiers, they are symbols. We fight for every world that has suffered under Concord rule." In the Outer Rim, chaos erupted. Planetary governors loyal to the Concord struggled to maintain control as local militias seized weapons depots. Markets collapsed. Pirates took advantage of the disorder, but some factions aligned themselves with the human rebels. Among these factions was the Verex, a fierce warrior species long subjugated by the Concord. Their leader, General Korth, met secretly with Arya aboard a hidden station cloaked in asteroid dust. "You humans return not just to fight, but to ignite a war," Korth said, his deep voice rumbling. "My people have waited centuries for this. moment, Arya's eyes glowed softly. We carry the fire of exile, tempered in the void. Together, we can burn away the Concord's tyranny. Back on the Leviathan, Vasquez studied star charts and strategic overlays. The Concord fleet was regrouping near the Tarsi's Sistema, vital supply route and gateway to the core worlds. We cannot allow them to reinforce their positions, she said. Prepare the fleet for a preemptive strike. Lieutenant Harros. Fingers flew over the controls. Quantum disruptor cannons are charged and ready. Vasquez smiled grimly. Let them taste the fire of exile. The battle for Tarsitz was swift and brutal. The Leviathan's fleet descended like a storm, catching Concord forces off guard. Explosions blossomed in the cold void as starships tore, each other apart with plasma and missile barrages. But the Concord was learning. Their flagship deployed advanced countermeasures and electronic warfare tactics, jamming the Leviathan's stealth drones and forcing direct confrontations amid the chaos. Vasquez piloted the Leviathan through a narrow asteroid field, evading concentrated fire. Her voice crackled over the comms. Concentrate fire on their command vessels. We cut off their head, and the body falls. As the battle raged, Arya led a boarding party onto a crippled Concorde cruiser. Her team moved like shadows, disabling security systems and sowing panic among the enemy crew. In the ship's command center, the Concorde admiral faced his fate with grim acceptance. You are but ghosts, he spat, exiles doomed to fade. Arya's eyes flared. Ghosts, no. We are the ashes of your empire. And from ashes, fire will rise. Back on Anderos, Councillor Tyrell watched the battle unfold through live feeds. The Leviathan's victory shook him, but he refused despair. This war will not be won by fleets alone, he told his aide. We must understand them, the humans, their allies, their pain. Only then can we hope to end this. But deep inside, Tyrell feared the truth. The Concorde had ignited a fire they could no longer control. On the Leviathan, Vasquez surveyed the aftermath of the Tarsi's battle. The Concorde fleet was shattered, but not broken. We have sent a message, she said softly. The war has begun. Her gaze drifted to a star map, the route home dim but unforgotten. Exile is over, she whispered. Now we reclaim our place among the stars. The core worlds of the Galactic Concorde had never seen unrest like this. For centuries, they had been the bastion of order and prosperity, the shining heart of a sprawling empire. Now, that heart pulsed with fear and uncertainty. Councillor Tyrell sat in his private chambers, watching the flickering holoscreens that showed news feeds from across the sector. Rebellions flared on remote planets. Star systems once loyal to the Concorde now buzzed with secret meetings and whispers of revolution. And through it all, the Leviathan loomed like a spectre, a symbol of humanity's return and a harbinger of war. His closest aide, Yolon, stepped forward, concern etched on his face. Counselor, the High Council grows restless. There are calls for decisive actions. Some even suggest we use the execution protocol. Tyrell's gaze hardened. The execution protocol is a scorched earth policy. If we unleash it, we risk turning every system into a battlefield. Yolan nodded. But without it, the rebels will spread like wildfire. Tyrell sighed deeply. We must find another way. I will seek an audience with Admiral Kessler. Admiral Kessler, commanding the Concorde's remaining fleets, was a woman forged in fire and loss. Her flagship, the Vigilant, orbited the capital as she reviewed the latest intelligence reports. The war against the Leviathan was proving costly and unpredictable. Counselor Tyrell, she greeted as he entered her command bridge. I assume this isn't a social visit. Tyrell clasped his hands behind his back. No, Admiral. We stand at a crossroads. The Leviathan has become more than a warship, is a symbol, a rallying point. We must understand who we face, or risk losing everything. Kessler frowned. I have fought them in battle. They are relentless and cunning. But you think diplomacy will work? It must, Tyrell replied. Because if it doesn't, this war will consume us all. Meanwhile, aboard the Leviathan, Admiral Vasquez prepared for what she called the heart of defiance, a daring mission to strike at the very core of Concord power. Their target, the Celestial Spire, the Concord's central communications hub and nerve center. This strike will show the galaxy that Exile forged us into something new, Vasquez told her officers. We will sever their command, disrupt their networks, and ignite the flames of rebellion across the core worlds. Commander. Rin raised an eyebrow. It's a bold move. The spire is heavily defended. Vasquez's eyes gleamed. So are we. The children of Exile are ready. The Leviathan slipped through the void with precision, cloaked in shadows as it approached the heavily fortified spire. The Concord's defenses erupted in a symphony of lasers and missiles. But the warships, advanced shields and electronic warfare systems absorbed and deflected the assault inside the spire. Alarms blared as security forces scrambled to respond. But it was too late. Stealth drones infiltrated the complex, sabotaging power grids and communications arrays. Arya led a team of elite operatives through the labyrinthine corridors, their augmented senses and bioenhancements allowing them to move silently and strike decisively. Target the control nexus, Arya commanded. We cut their eyes and ears. As they breached the control room, they encountered a squad of Concord guards. The firefight was brief and brutal, augmented reflexes and alien weaponry overwhelming conventional troops. Back on the Vigilant. Admiral Kessler's comms crackled with urgent reports. The spire is under attack, her lieutenant reported. Our forces are stretched thin. Kessler's jaw tightened. Deploy reinforcements. Hold the line at all costs. Tyrell's face paled as he watched the spire's status flicker. This will be a turning point, he muttered, on the Leviathan. Vasquez watched the operation unfold with grim satisfaction. The spire falls, she announced. The Concord's command is fractured. The core worlds will waver. Her voice softened, almost to herself. We fight not just for survival, but for the right to exist on our own terms. As the spire's systems collapsed, panic rippled. Through the Concord government, orders became delayed, strategies faltered, and confusion spread like wildfire. In the heart of the capital, protests erupted. Citizens demanded answers, and old alliances fractured as fear and hope clashed. Counselor Tyrell stood before the High Council once more, his voice ringing with conviction. This war is not just about ships and weapons. It is about identity, justice, and survival. We must find a new path. Watch the galaxy burn, far beyond the battlefield, in the shadowed void between stars. The Leviathan sailed onward, blazing testament to humanity's defiance. Exile had ended in fire. Now, the true war for the future of the galaxy was only beginning. The celestial spire lay in ruin, its once impenetrable defenses shattered by the Leviathan's relentless assault. Concord Command was fractured chaos rippling through its leadership like wildfire. The balance of power had shifted, But the war was far from over. Admiral Kessler's flagship, the Vigilant, hovered near the wreckage of the Spire, a battered but unyielding sentinel amid the storm. "We have taken heavy losses," Kessler admitted over the comms, her voice cold steel. "But the fight is not over. The Leviathan believes it has won, but we will show them the true cost of rebellion." Counselor Tyrell listened from the Capitol, his face lined with exhaustion. "There is still time for peace," he urged. "We must reach out, find a way to end this without total destruction." But the council was divided. Elder Zan and other hardliners demanded harsher reprisals. Crush the rebels before they spread further. No mercy on board the Leviathan. Admiral Vasquez received word of the Concorde's rally. Her smile was grim. "They will come for us," she said to Commander Rin. "Prepare the fleet. We will meet their fury head on." The warship's corridors hummed with energy as troops readied themselves. Among them, Arya moved with a silent purpose, her augmented senses alert to every shift in the ship's rhythm. The battlefield shifted to the outer sectors, where Concorde and human fleets collided in brutal combat. Plasma bolts streaked across the void, starships exploded in fiery blossoms, and debris drifted like ghostly tombstones. Vasquez piloted the Leviathan through the maelstrom, coordinating strikes with precision. "We fight for every exile, every lost world," she declared. Over the comms, "We will not bow." Admiral Kessler responded with equal ferocity. "They are strong, but we are many. We will break their lines." Amid the chaos, a small Concorde task force slipped through the fighting and targeted the Leviathan's engineering section. Aboard the warship, alarms screamed as explosions rocked the hull. "Sabotage," shouted Lieutenant Harrow. "They've breached critical systems." Vasquez's voice was steel. "Seal off the compartments. Deploy countermeasures." Arya led a rapid response team to hunt down the infiltrators deep within the ship's guts. The narrow corridors echoed with clashes, plasma bursts, grunts, and the hum of energy blades in a fierce confrontation. Arya faced the enemy commander, a ruthless Concorde operative named Velen. "You cannot win this war," Velen snarled. "Your kind is doomed." Arya's eyes glowed bright. "Our fire burns brighter because of Exile. We are not the doomed. We are the reckoning." Back in the core worlds, political tensions exploded. Public opinion swayed between fear and sympathy for humanity's cause. Protests turned violent as citizens clashed with Concorde loyalists. Counselor Tyrell convened an emergency session. "We must offer terms," he urged. "A chance to end the bloodshed." But Elder Zan's voice thundered against him. "Terms are weakness. They will use it to grow stronger." Tyrell's resolve hardened. "Or we can choose to build a future where all can coexist." In the depths of space, the Leviathan emerged from the battle. Scarred but undefeated, Vasquez addressed her crew. "This war is not just fought with weapons. It is fought in hearts and minds. We fight for the right to exist on our own terms." Her eyes swept over the weary but determined faces. "The next move will decide the fate of the galaxy." "Are we ready?" The crew answered with a resounding affirmation. Meanwhile, hidden in the shadows, a new player watched the enigmatic Zalari, an ancient species long withdrawn from galactic affairs. Their emissary transmitted a cryptic message: "Humanity's fire awakens something old. The reckoning approaches." The war had reached its critical point. Fire and shadow intertwined across the stars. Exile had ended in fire. Now, the flames of reckoning would forge the galaxy's destiny. The void trembled with the echoes of war. The Leviathan, battered but unbowed, cut a fiery path through the shattered remnants of Concord fleets. Around it, allies gathered dribbles. Outcasts and oppressed species united under humanity's banner. Their numbers swelling like a tidal wave poised to crash against the old order. Admiral Vasquez stood on the bridge, her eyes burning with fierce resolve. The final battle was upon them, the Concord's heart, the capital world of Andoros. Today, she announced to her crew, we reclaim not just our place in the stars, but our right to shape the galaxy's future. Counselor Tyrell stood within the council chamber on Andaros, facing the devastation the war had wrought. The once majestic city lay scarred, its people divided between fear and hope. We face annihilation. He admitted to the remaining counselors, but also the chance for renewal. Elder Zan sneered from the shadows. You would surrender to rebels, to exiles. Tyrell's voice was calm but fierce. No, I would surrender to progress to peace. The galaxy cannot survive if we burn it all to ashes. As the Leviathan's fleet entered Andoros' orbit, the Concord's defenses roared to life. Star fortresses unleashed torrents of plasma and missile storms. The void erupted in fiery explosions and cascading debris. Vasquez maneuvered the Leviathan with masterful precision, dodging death at every turn. Focus fire on the orbital batteries, she commanded. Disable their eyes. Below, Arya led a covert strike team through the ravaged city streets, weaving past Concord patrols and rebel factions alike. We fight for every soul silenced by exile, she whispered, eyes scanning for threats. For every spark of hope snuffed by tyranny. Within the council chamber, Tyrell and a small group of peace advocates prepared a broadcast to the galaxy. We offer an end to bloodshed, Tyrell declared on Liv Comes. Let us build together a new Concord, one of justice and unity. The transmission flickered with interference. Zan's loyalists worked to sabotage the signal, but a surge of support from the outer Rim and core worlds flooded the networks. The message spread, igniting hope in hearts long silenced. The Leviathan breached the final line of defense, descending toward the planetary surface. Vasquez's voice echoed over Comes. This is humanity's dawn. The battle on Andoros, and energy rifles, starship strikes, and ground assaults. Arya's team captured key installations, turning the tide within the city. In a desperate move, Elder Zan attempted to seize control, rallying Concord loyalists for a final purge. Tyrell confronted him in the council chamber, their voices rising. Amidst the chaos, you fight to preserve a broken past, Tyrell said. But the future belongs to those willing to change. Zan sneered, raising a concealed weapon. A flash of lighter, single shot fired. Zan collapsed. His rebellion ended. The city's fires began to dim as Vasquez's forces secured Andoros. The Concord's grip was broken, replaced by a fragile but growing unity. On the Leviathan, Vasquez addressed her crew one last time. We rose from Exile's ashes. We are the Phoenix, reborn and unyielding. The galaxy will never forget the fire that brought us home. Arya stood beside her, her eyes reflecting the dawn. Exile is over. Our war is won. Across the stars, the ancient Zelari watched from their hidden world. Their emissary's message echoed in quiet halls. The Phoenix rises, but so too must the shadows fall. The true reckoning is yet to come. The galaxy had changed forever. From the fire of exile A new era dawned, a future shaped not by conquest, but by the indomitable spirit of humanity and their allies. The Leviathan sailed into legend, a blazing symbol of hope and defiance, and humanity, once cast out, was finally home.